I'll be frank with you, I really only wanted to look at Joshiraku to just talk about the Japanese comedy scene in general. It's a fascinating art that deserves some insight. And as it happens, Joshiraku is a great example in analyzing some of its aspects. For what's honestly just an okay gag comedy, Joshiraku pulls off some incredible detailing and mastery of what it does best, which is presenting comedy, even if the jokes themselves don't entirely land, which you could argue is also a fair part of the art of comedy. So, how does this ragtag group of weirdos who talk to themselves manage to do it? Let's take a moment. The anime centers on 5, sometimes 6, sometimes 7 Rakugo comedians and their escapades of telling funny stories, ending up in funny situations, and giving off funny reactions, a mostly typical gag show. What makes it unique is the wrap around the characteristics of comedy itself. Joshiraku has a keen knack for formulating its comedy in a way that teaches the audience Japanese humor without explicitly telling them. There's a good variety of styles of jokes and joke-telling that it gradually becomes impressive how many lessons they can get into. It'd be one thing to just tell these jokes or tell the audience what kind of joke is being said, but this show does it in a way that's not subtle but distinctly characterized, and much of the time fast, and they use that effect to their full advantage. The first 5 minutes of the show, there's like 10 types of humor right off the gate, and they unload it to you in rapid succession. It starts off with a traditionally performed Rakugo piece, which in itself has elements of stand-up, manzai, and wordplay, but then in the group setting, there's fourth wall breaking, meta humor, elaborate character dichotomy, nihilist humor. There's even a box that calls out both the viewers and the show's lack of substance. And it keeps going. There are just so many jokes they throw at you, and though they don't always land, they're fascinating to listen to because it's nonsensical dialogue said between people in a creatively casual manner and setting. As with many gag comedies, this show's primary way of relaying jokes is in casual conversation, which of course means they talk about the most random topics in a nonchalant manner, and play off each other to gauge reactionary humor. Now, this could feel repetitive, and a good chunk of the jokes can go over your head, but the funny stuff is really funny, and the girls themselves are very distinct and exaggerated character. One of the girls is a calculating schemer, another one's a macabre deadpan, and there's another one wearing a luchador mask. There's no rhyme or reason for that. She doesn't talk. She barely has any role. She's just there, and it's bizarre. But it's very much in line with the show's humor of having random running jokes, and it's quite admirable for it. But again, the crowning note of Joshiraku is the extensive knowledge of comedy they pass on to you. Through the characters of hyperbolic personalities, you're brought up to learn the foundations of certain types of humor, the setting up and punchlines of jokes, and yes, even actual lessons on the Japanese comedy scene. I think aside from a fun time, there is something of substance everyone can take from this show. I'm not saying you'll become an encyclopedic vessel of funny after watching it, God knows I'm not even after several rewatches, but it does stand to give a handful of knowledgeable insight on both the art and the industry of Japanese humor. That being said, it is a show about comedy. Like I stated, not every joke will land, and especially those that are lost in translation, it's a free-for-all of how one can subjectively take in the jokes, running gags, and just plain nonsense. It's probably the biggest setback of the anime, and the only things alleviating it is the fact that they are rapid-fire and plentiful. That's just something to keep in mind. If it sounds like something you'd be into, yeah, it has the makings of a great semi-educational class in the art of comedy, and it's well worth a check for that regard alone. That and the incredibly catchy theme songs. Seriously, I think the thing people mostly remember about this show is the ending, and yeah, is unironically a banger. While it's not the pinnacle of comedy, nor the deepest dives into the craft, it's a good time nonetheless with a few added bonuses on top of what it tries to do right and wrong. If you're a fan of comedy or stories about a guy's really long name, then this is an adequate performance to get some good laughs from.